Elizabeth Holmes, founder and CEO of health technology company Theranos, a healthcare company that claimed to have developed a revolutionary blood testing technology, is guilty of fraud. Yeah, spoiler alert, and it's not because of the fact that she puts on that clearly fake voice in her interviews.
And as we thought about this, we focused very much on the question of access.
Oh, God. It's like someone scraping their nails down a chalkboard. No, it's more so to do with the great big bloody scandal that she was involved with, which I'm fairly sure that you've probably seen on the news. So, what happened to unwind America's youngest female self-made millionaire? According to Holmes, the blood testing technology her company developed could perform hundreds of tests on a single drop of blood, eliminating the need for traditional blood tests that require vials of blood to be drawn. Holmes founded Theranos in 2003 when she was just 19 years old in her Stanford dorm room. She quickly gained attention and raised millions of dollars for investors, including high-profile individuals such as Rupert Murdoch, and at one point the company was valued at $9 billion. This in itself is revolutionary, and if she wasn't lying about everything, it is really impressive. I mean, no wonder people were queuing to give her money to invest into this thing. I mean, this could have been potentially life-changing. However, all good things must come to an end, as in 2015 a series of articles by investigative journalists revealed that Theranos' technology was not as revolutionary as Holmes had claimed. In fact, the company's blood testing devices were only able to perform a limited number of tests and were prone to errors. Those errors had serious implications for patients who relied on the results from the tests to make critical healthcare decisions. I mean, who would have ever even thought that this was the case? You can stare into her cold dead eyes and hear her grating voice when she tells you that everything is completely foolproof. Maybe, just maybe, you have a hint of doubt there. Investigative journalist John Carreyrou from the Wall Street Journal received a tip about the Theranos in which they started to dig further into the story. Theranos initially claimed that Carreyrou's reporting was faulty, and its legal counsel threatened the reporter with lawsuits. However, Theranos began correcting tens of thousands of blood tests in 2016, and by 2017, the company had closed its last laboratory. As the scandal unfolded, it became clear that Holmes had misled investors, regulators, and the public about the capabilities of Theranos' technology. What was worst of all was the fact that the discovery led to the fact that these machines that were being led to run the tests were basically completely worthless. Holmes was charged with multiple counts of fraud and conspiracy, and in March 2018, the SEC charged her with the company's former president with raising more than $700 million from investors through an elaborate years-long fraud. So yeah, what was incredibly strange about this was that she knew this for years and basically thought that she could get away with it. I mean, how long did she genuinely think that she could get away with this for technology that didn't work? Maybe she thought that over time they could figure it out and then she could basically go back and say, oh yeah, it was working the whole time. I mean, where does it end? Holmes' trial began in August 2021 and lasted for several months. Prosecution argued that Holmes had intentionally deceived investors and patients in order to maintain the delusion of Theranos' success. They presented evidence that the company had manipulated its own blood testing results, used third-party testing services for the majority of the tests, and had even forged partnerships with major pharmacy chains such as Walgreens and Safeway. In September 2021, Elizabeth Holmes was found guilty of 4 counts of fraud and conspiracy, and in November 2022 was sentenced to just over 11 years in prison. After her conviction, Holmes and her partner allegedly attempted to flee, according to the prosecutors, when they bought one-way tickets to Mexico. Because of course they did. Her lawyers said that the tickets were purchased in the hope that she could be heard in Mexico and the outcome of the trial might be different. You know, despite the fact a decision had already been made based on the evidence presented before it, and you'd think that if they had any real arguments that she would have mentioned them already. Maybe?
You will get back up when you get knocked down, and you will get knocked down over and over and over and over again.
Anyway, she didn't go to Mexico, she stayed put, and faced the consequences. What I should say is that at the time of doing this script, the story is still developing, despite the fact that she's been sentenced. She's now trying to say for various reasons that she shouldn't serve a prison term. The latest one in the news was because she's got a newborn. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just telling you what happened before because it's bloody interesting, no pun intended. And yeah, basically it's a precautionary tale. You can have something that sounds good, maybe even too good. And perhaps that's why we need these journalists to dig down into the truth and find people who are talking complete shit. Thankfully, she's now dropped the persona of her very grating voice and is now speaking normally.
And our team in Arizona called us and said, what do we do?
The way that she normally does, so at least we know that she was putting on an act before. That voice just grinds me down. If people are so willing to throw that much money around, then I'm formally announcing my new invention, the all-knowing sphere. It's modelled and looks exactly like a magic 8-ball, so if you want to know the future, just give it a shake. It's Brainspill trademarked. If you guys like that video, here's another one just like it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic.